Welcome. I want to thank you for joining Navigating Change, Leading with Emotional Intelligence. I am Michelle Hill, and I will be guiding us through our 4 micro-learning sessions where we're going to cover, first is going to be defining and understanding emotional intelligence. Second, barriers we face when leading teams with different levels of emotional intelligence. Third, ways to increase your emotional intelligence. And fourth, using emotional intelligence to lead teams working in different places. So to get started, let's dive in and really kind of take a close look at defining and understanding emotional intelligence. Microlearning, part 1 of 4. So emotional intelligence is a term that has actually existed for many years, but it became widely popular by Dan Goleman in 1996 when he published his book, Emotional Intelligence. And in there, he defines this as it is the capability of individuals to recognize their own emotions and those of others, discern between different feelings, and label them appropriately. So in other words, it's the ability to manage our own emotions and influence the emotions of others. When you're emotionally intelligent, your emotions work for you, not against you. In his book, he introduces the emotional intelligence theory, which is broken out into 4 components. The first 2 are about yourself, so self-awareness and self-management, while the remaining 2 are concerns for others, so social awareness and relationship management. And we're going to take a look at each of these quadrants just to dive a little deeper and identify where are the areas that we can improve. So when we look at self-awareness, it is possibly one of the most important components of emotional intelligence, and it's really where we first need to start. So having self-awareness means that you have a clear and accurate opinion of yourself. It's when you know your feelings and how they shape your beliefs, your attitude, and actions. That is when you can start to better understand yourself. You also will have a good handle on how others perceive you. So when you have a high level of self-awareness, you're able to notice your emotions. You're able to pause in the middle of them and think about them rationally in that very moment, and then choose how you're going to decide. Versus when we're lacking self-awareness, our emotions take over and you're only able to recognize your emotional state afterwards. And afterwards is sometimes when it's a little too late. It's when we've done or said something we now wish we would not have. So that's the first starting point. Second one is going to be self-management. So we're focusing on that second quadrant, self on the bottom side and management. And self-management is really our self-control. It takes awareness to the next level by managing our emotions. This includes emotional self-control, adaptability, drive, and positive outlook. So how we choose that mindset, how we choose to look at things. It also takes a look at how well we manage our impulses and our compulsive behaviors that allow us to respond to situations, not react to them, and follow through with our responsibilities. Self-control will also help us become more proactive and adapt to change. So when you're thinking about this quadrant, ask yourself, are you able to redirect your emotions into a healthy, positive direction? Can you control your impulses? Do you respond in a reasonable manner when others are acting unreasonable? So if you think back to a couple situations when maybe discussions got heated, or that thought that you had that maybe you could have done something better or responded differently, you want to learn from those moments. What was the trigger? And when that occurs, how do you want to respond? Because that's the choice we have. That's what we can control. So it really is about getting better at managing our negative moods and thought patterns. And, at times it really is about how open are we to change and new ideas, because that also has a huge impact on how we manage in the moments of time when working with others. We go to the third quadrant, that social awareness. That's a little bit of that sensitivity, being aware of the emotions of others. So being sensitive to the emotions of others, this is about understanding others and identifying the emotional needs of your team pretty quick. The better we are, we can pick up on cues. We can get better at making people feel comfortable that we're working with, and really understanding their body language, facial expressions, and getting better at asking open-ended questions that allow us to reduce assumptions and gain more facts. So thinking about, are you able to help someone cope with emotional challenges that they might be facing? First, we need to have awareness that maybe they're having some emotional challenges, they're struggling, there's some stress. And the other part would be, do you know how to comfort someone else? I mean, how to calm them when maybe they're upset. So if there is a discussion and the individual disagrees and their emotions are starting to take control and drive some of their behaviors, how well do we know them and what we can do to help first calm them, to allow them to think through how they want to respond to something versus react to it. And that last piece is the relationship management, our social skills. It's really managing our relationships with others. So this involves managing what we do that can have the greatest impact on those around us. It involves managing the environment we choose to create for our people to be successful in. So ultimately, we are being more relatable, which also involves a variety of skills such as effective communication, harnessing teamwork, coaching, and the ability to handle conflicts and disagreements. So when thinking about this quadrant, some questions you can ask yourself is, how well do I do at interpreting facial expressions or body language? Can I anticipate the emotions, the way someone may react to a given situation? Because the better I can anticipate how they may react can help me in regards to how well what can I adjust, or how do I present them with information that could help keep them a little more calm, or we can have a conversation versus maybe the conversation becoming more of a disagreement. This also gets into, how well do I communicate and how well do I listen? So when looking at these 4 areas, self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management, I want you to pause for a moment and rate yourself in the 4 areas. Let's say 1 to 5. How well are you, or comfortable are you in each of those areas? And what is the one area that you could focus on improving that would have the greatest impact on your team? So transitioning, just thinking about emotions and behaviors, I want us to think for a moment, think back to your worst boss. What is the things that you remember? What is it you remember them doing, how they made you feel? And just identify a couple words when you think about your worst boss. Someone who had a negative impact on you, or made you feel bad, made you feel a certain way. What was it that they did and how did it impact you? So just pause for a moment and think back on some of those times, and let's jot that down. So some of you might have identified, didn't feel included, was left out. Maybe they didn't care, they were condescending. Maybe they didn't keep you in the know, that you felt you were always in the dark. There are a lot of things that we can do as a manager that sometimes we don't realize the impact is negative. And really the purpose of this exercise is just simply remembering back through those times, those experiences that we had with other individuals, and what they did and how they made us feel, so we can learn from those. Because what we do have in our own control is we can choose to not create those experiences for those that we're leading. We can choose to create a better environment. And then that first step is having awareness of what are things that others have done that possibly impact you in a negative way. So when we think about those relationships and we think about Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence theory, the one thing that we can also consider as working through it is, what can we do to create that environment that supports the three basic things as humans that we all desire? Because these three things are really going to fall in that first self-awareness, and also how you are managing those relationships, what you're doing to create these feelings. And the three at the core, if we look at these three basic things, we all desire that feeling to feel important. We all desire that feeling to feel accepted and to be competent. So if we go back to that, to feel important, that really dives into feeling appreciated and valued. So as a manager, what you have in your control, again, going back to the environment you can create, what are the things that you're doing that causes your people to feel that you value them, that cause your people to feel that you appreciate them, that they are important, and that they feel safe as being part of your team. And that's that psychological safety. And really important that we're intentional on the things that we do to create that feeling. We go to the feeling accepted. That's being a part of something. That's really being a part of something bigger than just the role that we're in. And it's really a part of a community that builds trust, within that bigger picture of within the organization. And that feeling of fitting in helps us feel that sense of belonging and respect for each other too. So we have to ask ourselves, what are the things that we're doing to engage our teams in ways that they feel accepted, that they feel valued? What interactions, such as your tone, your volume, your body language, your approach, that promotes the feelings of accepted, that causes people to feel you're approachable and that you care and that you trust them. And right now, when we look at, not only is it face-to-face, but when we have the team's flexibility of working from home, whether it's because it's flexible workspace, work environment, or it's because maybe with what's going on right now, we're being forced, some positions are being forced to work at home. As that manager leading them, it's really looking at, if we're not going to have the face-to-face interactions, I need to make sure that I'm doing extra things to connect and reach out and to communicate and check in with my people to make sure they feel that they're important part of our team, and that I value them, and that they are, someone who we want to be part of, have them be part of, and they feel good about it. And the last thing is helping them feel competent. All humans are motivated by mastery. We all want to be successful, and really within, being successful, it really is about developing our strengths, the things that interest us, and being good at what it is that we do to support the organization. So again, it goes back to, what are the things that you're doing to create that environment where people feel successful, where they feel confidence in the work that they're doing, and that they're learning, to grow, and then they're growing within the organization. They're learning to be better. And at the end of the day, what we can control is the things that we do and the impact that we have on people. And sometimes we need to be a little more disciplined and take the time to really think about, are we creating that environment, whether it's face-to-face or more virtual, are we hitting these three areas and evaluating how well we're doing and pushing ourselves to be better. So up next, our next micro-learning series is going to be barriers we face in leading teams with different levels of emotional intelligence. So the second of the 4 parts will be barriers we face in leading teams with different levels of emotional intelligence. Please check that out. And also, when you have a chance, Check us out, connect on revelagroup.com, sign up for our blog, and you'll see the 4 different, well, actually 5 different areas on social media to connect with us as well. And they're all at Revela Group. Thank you so much for joining us for our first session on the leading change, and we look forward to the next one. Thank you.